2021, Jeff Bezos became the first person in history to accumulate a net worth of over $200 billion. Amazon employs over 1.5 million people worldwide. It is the world's largest online retailer, the world's largest cloud computing company, and one of the most valuable businesses ever created. Every 11 seconds, an Amazon package is delivered somewhere on Earth. In 1994, Jeff Bezos wrote the business plan for Amazon in the passenger seat of a car. His wife drove. He had just quit his job. He had no warehouse, no website, no investors. He was going to sell books. This is the story of how one decision, made on a highway between New York and Seattle, became the foundation of the largest empire in the history of commerce. Empires and Ashes. Episode 4, The Everything Store, the Jeff Bezos story. Jeffrey Preston Bezos was born on January 12, 1964 in Albuquerque, New Mexico. His mother was 17 years old. His biological father left when he was 3. His stepfather, Miguel Bezos, a Cuban immigrant who had arrived in America as a teenager with almost nothing, adopted him and gave him his name. Miguel worked his way through university and became a successful engineer. He was the first blueprint Jeff ever studied. Jeff spent his summers on his maternal grandfather's ranch in Texas, fixing windmills, doing farm work, learning the satisfaction of solving problems with his hands and his mind. From an early age, he was obsessed with how things worked. He dismantled his crib with a screwdriver as a toddler. He wired his bedroom door with an alarm to keep his siblings out. He converted his parents' garage into a laboratory. He graduated from Princeton University in 1986 with degrees in electrical engineering and computer science. He chose a small startup nobody had heard of. He wanted to be where things were being built. By the early 1990s, he was a senior vice president at D. Shaw, one of the most prestigious quantitative hedge funds on Wall Street. He was earning more money than most people see in a lifetime. He was 30 years old. He had everything the world said success looked like, and he was about to throw it away. In 1994, Jeff Bezos read a statistic that changed everything. Internet usage was growing at 2,300% per year. He made a list of the 20 most promising products that could be sold online. Books came out on top. There were more titles in existence than any physical store could ever stock. They were easy to ship, and they were universally desired. Books were not the destination. They were the door. He went to his boss at D.E. Shaw and told him his plan. His boss told him it was a great idea for someone who didn't already have a great job. Bezos quit anyway. He applied what he called his regret minimization framework. He asked himself, "When I am 80 years old, will I regret not trying this?" The answer was yes. The decision was made. He and his wife Mackenzie drove from New York to Seattle. He wrote the business plan in the passenger seat. By the time they arrived, Amazon existed on paper. Amazon launched in July 1995 from the garage of a rented house in Bellevue, Washington. In the first month, Amazon sold books to customers in all 50 U.S. states and 45 countries. Bezos and his team packed and shipped every order themselves. When the bell rang to announce a new sale, everyone in the garage would cheer. Within 2 months, sales were $20,000 a week. Amazon went public in 1997. Wall Street was skeptical. The company had never made a profit, and Bezos had no intention of prioritizing profit anytime soon. He had a different priority entirely: growth. He reinvested every dollar Amazon made back into the business. New categories, new warehouses, new technology, new countries. While competitors focused on quarterly profits, Bezos focused on a 10-year horizon. By 2002, Amazon launched Amazon Web Services, a cloud computing division that would eventually become the most profitable part of the entire company. Most people thought it was a distraction. It would go on to power a third of the entire internet. The bookstore had become the everything store, and the everything store was becoming the infrastructure of the modern world. But the larger the empire, the longer the shadows it casts. As Amazon grew into a global behemoth, the questions grew with it. Reports emerged of grueling working conditions in Amazon's fulfillment centers. Workers described relentless productivity targets, limited bathroom breaks, and an atmosphere of surveillance and pressure that left little room for human dignity. Governments around the world began investigating Amazon's market dominance. Antitrust regulators asked whether a company this powerful, one that competed with the very sellers others who used its platform could fairly be allowed to keep growing. And then, in 2019, Jeff Bezos announced something nobody expected. He was stepping down as CEO of Amazon. The man who had built the company from a garage, who had led it for 27 years through every crisis, every expansion, every reinvention, was handing over the reins. He would become executive chairman. Andy Jassy, the architect of Amazon Web Services, would take over as CEO. Bezos said he wanted to focus on his other ventures, his space company Blue Origin, his philanthropic work, his other investments. 3 weeks after stepping down as CEO, Jeff Bezos flew to space on his own rocket. He had not retired from ambition. He had simply changed the frontier. So what does the Jeff Bezos story teach us about building wealth? 3 principles, each one hiding inside a decision most people would never have made. First, think in decades, not quarters. Amazon did not make a profit for years. Investors were nervous. Analysts were skeptical. Bezos didn't care because he was not optimizing for this quarter. He was optimizing for the next decade. Every empire that lasts is built on a long-time horizon. Short-term thinking produces short-term results. The willingness to be misunderstood in the short term while building something extraordinary for the long term is one of the rarest and most valuable qualities a builder can have. Second, the regret minimization framework. When Bezos faced the biggest decision of his life, quit a 6-figure Wall Street job to sell books on the internet, he didn't ask what made sense right now. He asked what his 80-year-old self would regret not having tried. That question cuts through fear, through social pressure, through conventional wisdom. Ask it about every major decision you face. The answer will tell you exactly what you already know you should do. Third, build infrastructure, not just products. Amazon Web Services was not a product. It was infrastructure. It powered other businesses. It became indispensable. The wealthiest empires in history are not built on products that people want. They are built on infrastructure that people cannot function without. Whatever you are building, ask yourself, could this become the foundation that others build on? That is where the real wealth lives. From a business plan written in a car to the largest company on earth. Not luck, not timing alone. A long game played with relentless patience and an absolute refusal to think small. Jeff Bezos built his empire by thinking in decades, betting on infrastructure, and refusing to let short-term pressure derail a long-term vision. But next week, we tell a story of a different kind of obsession entirely. A man who sold his company for $180 million, then put every single dollar into 2 companies that were both weeks from bankruptcy. His friends thought he had lost his mind. His ex-wife thought he was having a breakdown. He was building the future. Next week, Elon Musk, the man who bet everything, twice. Subscribe and turn on notifications. The next story drops in 7 days.